We have the Louisiana STEM Expo. We've been doing this for about 7 years, and so this is one of our new venues for the event. The Louisiana STEM Expo is a festival that's celebrating science, technology, engineering, and math. We've got students who will be showing projects, and there's about 80 of them here today. And we've got 27 exhibitors who are showing off their company's different experiments and hands-on activities for students. And we've got about 11 field trip groups who are attending today with 30 to 100 students per school, depending on their school trip. There is a wide array of different projects. You can see a pig lung that will inflate and a student can show you. We've got another exhibitor who's showing virtual reality. We have a hovercraft, there's drones, there's fish that are flying around that are balloons. Honestly, you think of something that's science, technology, engineering, and math, and it's gonna be here. Most of the students who are showing project are middle school students, so they're between 6th and 8th grade. They each contribute a different amount of time. They work with a teacher individually, and they practice with that teacher during the school day or after school, depending on the schedule. And so usually they devote about a week's worth of time, but spread out throughout the month before the STEM Expo. There is a whole choice section on our website that we offer options for projects. They're not limited to that, but that gives the students a starting point for what kind of projects we like to see, because we really want it to be something fun and exciting for those who are attending to watch. So there's just, all the projects are, like I said, something that's hands-on and exciting to do. So a lot of these projects, this is just really for the STEM Expo, so it's not like other science fairs where they go statewide, but we do know we have a network of different STEM Expos that students can show projects. So some students, they may have competed at a science fair previously, and we actually have about 4 students who are eligible to go to this National Science Fair. One of the things that I love to see is how excited students get about the STEM field. So it's something where it's not specifically to compete to win, but to compete because they're so excited and having a great time and they want to show their project off. There are so many students here that you're going to find who want to show you their project. They're asking you, come to my table, let me show you this great project that I learned how to do.
I have the levitating water. In the inside there's a frequency of the lights that make the water appear that it's going up and down. I learned that if you change a frequency of something, then it can make something appear differently, and that the eyes are slower than most things. What do you think if I put the cup under there?
It'll stop the water.
The water's filling up. This happens because in the inside, the frequency is blinking very fast. The frequency is going at, but it matches with the water droplets, so it appears to be going this way. If I change the frequency, it'll go down, stop, and go down. It's a good learning experience.
My project is about if you don't want no one snooping in what you're up to in your screen, then the way we do this is that we took part of the polarizing sheet from the screen, and then the polarizing have 2 filters. The first one is a white one, and the second one is the black one. The black one is usually the strongest one. So what is happening here is that light passes through the first filter, and then the black one blocks the light so that the pixels that are inside of the screen can get dark, and that's what it makes the color show up in the screen. But however, the only thing that we took out from the screen is the black polarizer. So what happens in there is that when the light passes from the first filter, it doesn't have nothing to block the light. So the pixels cannot get dark. So there's no color going on. So the only way that you can see what is going on in there without the second polarizer is putting on in front of the screen the same polarizer that you took off from the screen, or using a pair of 3D glasses. I learned that privacy can happen with this, and science is so magical, and it can give you some ideas so you can have privacy on it. And the reason why I make this is because I'm really interested in technology. I want to be an industrial engineer.
How is going to Kenilworth helping you achieve that goal?
Too much. I remember last year in my old school, I was not barely really good in science and in math, but I learned too much in this school, and I love this school. I'm going to miss too much when I barely go into high school. But yeah, this school is just amazing. I loved it.
My project is balancing nails, and I'm trying to figure out if I can find the center of gravity in all 10 nails, balancing 10 nails in one. And people say it's impossible, but you can try at least. And even if you succeed or fail, you can still find a way and put balancing 10 nails in each. See, people say if you can balance one nail on the other nail, and then you can't balance another nail, so they try to figure out a crisscross pattern to make it stay on point. My biggest thing I learned is that if you can't do it, science is about a gesture. You don't have to do a big gesture to make it seem cool. It can be anything that involves science. I chose a specific project because I wanted to see if I was able to balance all these nails. I thought it was really cool, even if I don't have a big gesture to choose it.
What have you gained from going to school at Kenilworth?
I gained knowledge and I became something. But at my old schools, I was an A student. I was a good student, but Kenilworth pushed me. At first, I started off with a rocky start, but then I was able to build up my courage and get back on my feet. They pushed me to have the courage to do more work and stuff and make me smarter and have more knowledge. I owe that to Miss Gray, my teacher.
Tell me, what do you think of the STEM Expo so far?
It's fun, it's cool, and I like all the stuff like that they taught us and all the papers and stuff that they gave us.
Tell me about the last booth you just went to. What did you learn?
Okay, so we just went to the Chemistry is Fun booth, and they was showing us like different stuff. Like if you take a bottle and put grease on the top of it, like it separates because negative protons and negative neutrons separate at the same different points. And she was telling us that if you look at the periodic table and you take one element and another element, it separates because negative and positive don't like each other.
And what is your favorite subject in school?
Math. I love to multiply.
Do you plan on doing a STEM Expo yourself?
I don't know yet. I have to learn more to see like what can I do or what I can't do.
What makes coming to this different than going to science class to learn these things?
It's like we learn the exact same thing, but here they give more details and more reasons why to what that problem is. If they have another fair, I would definitely be here because it's more fun than I thought it would be and we learn more things.
Okay, you would need a mason jar and the top with a wire screen. You would need a laminated card. Okay, first step, you will pour water into the mason jar. Okay, and top it up. Thank you. And place the laminated card on top of the screen. Turn it upside down on top of the bucket, and when you remove the card, you see no water come out. The answer is that it's surface tension. Surface tension is a product that allows the liquid to resist an external force. If you slightly tip it to the left or the right, you see the water come out. Thank you.
My name is Elijah Collins, and today I'll be doing the fireproof balloon. So when I put the fire under this one, it pops. If I put the fire under this one, it doesn't pop. The reason behind this is because this one was filled with air and the other one was filled with water. So since this one was filled with air, the air molecules expanded, which caused the balloon to pop. And since this was filled with water, the cold water at the top replaces the heated water at the bottom. But the only way you could make this balloon pop is if you made it go to a boiling point. I learned that oxygen is more flammable than water. I've gone to Kenilworth for 2 years now, and I think they should come to Kenilworth because they have a lot of fun activities and you can learn a lot from it.
We are going to get started with this award ceremony. I'd like to start it off with thanking everyone for attending. We did a great job this year. I'm so proud of all the students who were showing projects. You were very impressive, especially, Garen Moore, he even grabbed some volunteers and had them come right to their table to show off the project. So a lot of you, I was very impressed with how passionate you were to show off your project. I also want to thank all of the exhibitors. We had 30 different people who were here to represent their company and show off some different STEM projects. And we had at least 5 or 6 field trips, even despite of all of the tornadoes. So thank you for coming despite of the weather. Also, for the next years, we're very much interested in expanding the festival and partnering with different community members. So if you're interested in being part of the STEM Expo and becoming a partner with us, please reach out to me because we are open to having you at that table so that we can expand the Expo and make it all that we can. To start off our award ceremony, we have two amazing keynote speakers. Our first one is Dr. Javier Navarez. He is an associate professor of zoological medicine at the LSU School of Veterinary Medicine. So if everyone can give him a round of applause, he's got a fun friend to show off.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. How y'all doing? Good. Y'all have some lunch already? No, a little bit, some. Well, welcome. Thank you all so much for being here. I appreciate the invitation. I'm Dr. Navarez. I'm the director of the Wildlife Hospital, Louisiana. We work out at the LSU School of Veterinary Medicine. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about the science of veterinary medicine. I know you guys have been talking about science a lot and technology, so I'm going to try to integrate science and technology with veterinary medicine and show you what we do and see if that will pique your interest a little bit. So one of the big labor that we do in the Wildlife Hospital is we take animals that have been injured in the wild. People bring them to us, wildlife and fisheries, and we try to rehabilitate them and then release them back to the wild, the ones that have injuries that can be sent back to the wild. Unfortunately, some birds cannot be sent back to the wild because they cannot fly, and that's an example here of Scarlet. Scarlet is a red-tailed hawk. She came to us and she had a bad break on one of her wings. So one of her wings is shorter than the other one, so she cannot fly properly and she cannot be released back to the wild because she couldn't survive in the wild. She was a young bird when she came to us. I'm going to walk her around in a second. You can see that pretty red tail that she has. So when their first year, when they're born, that tail is actually going to be completely brown. And it's going to be a completely different coloration. And then when they turn a year old, the tail starts turning that pretty brick red coloration that you can see now. So with Scarlet, we made her an educational bird, and that's what we do with a lot of the birds that we get in. So we make some of our birds educational birds so they can come to events like this and get people to see them. And again, remind people these birds are very, very important. They're the natural exterminators, right? So if we don't have these birds of prey in the wild, what do you think they eat in the wild? What do you think, what kind of things they eat in the wild? Anybody want to guess? Yes. They eat what? Yeah, some of them eat caterpillars. When they're babies, they'll eat caterpillars. Yes, sir. Yeah, mice, rats, snakes, right? So do you guys like to have mice, rats, and snakes around your house? No, most people don't, right? So the one safe way to make sure you don't have mice, rats, and snakes around your house is make sure you have birds of prey around your house. So if you have hawks and eagles and things like that near your house, they're going to be the natural exterminators. They're going to be a cheap, easy way to make sure those things are not near our home, right? So we don't want to be shooting these guys. We don't want to hurt them in any way, shape, or form because they're going to be the natural exterminator in the wild. They're a very important part of our environment, very important part of nature. So very smart birds too. They have unique things in their anatomy. For example, this bird, how many people have been to Tiger Stadium and seen Tiger Stadium, right? So if you're in a football stadium, if you put a newspaper in one end zone and put her in the other end zone, she could actually read the newspaper if she knew how to read, okay? Most of us could barely figure out that there's a newspaper on the other side, right? But she could actually read if she knew how to read, okay? So they have very, very good vision. They're diurnal animals. They're out during the daytime and hunt during the day mostly. And then I'm going to walk her around, and I want you guys to look right on top of her eye. She has like a little bone that's coming out of her eye, almost like a little shelf visor. So what I want you to think about is the visor in a car. So you know when you're driving in a car and you put the visor out to help you protect from the sun? So that's exactly what the function that serves in these birds because they're flying 2,000-3,000 feet up in the air. And if they didn't have that, they'd be blinded by the sun. So that little visor they have is so when they're flying, it helps protect them from the sun so they can actually hunt efficiently and see what's going on, okay? So we get about 2,000 different animals through our wildlife hospital every year. About 400 of those are going to be birds of prey, but they're very, very labor intensive. We have all the veterinary students that help take care of them and spend a lot of time making sure that they can get rehabilitated and released back to the wild. They have to be fed every day. They have to be weighed every day, make sure they're gaining weight and maintaining weight. So it's a very, very labor intensive role, okay? So one of the things I wanted to illustrate is how technology comes into play with veterinary medicine and wildlife rehabilitation. And one of the things we do as part of the rehab, we have these fly cages, and we have to make sure the birds can learn to fly again or they're strong enough, right? So how many people here run? Any runners? Just a few runners, okay? So if you run on a regular basis, you can probably go out and maybe do a 5K or something like that and do really good, right? Now, you cannot just be on the couch for a month and get up the next day and go run a marathon, right? It's not going to happen. You can run on the hall, but you cannot go do that. So these guys are athletes, right? So in the wild, they're constantly flying. They're actually using their muscles. When they come to a rehabilitation center, they're going to be in a cage in a small environment for a while, for a few weeks. So you have to actually build up that musculature again. So one of the questions we had was, can we help speed up that process of rehabilitation by chasing them around and forcing them to fly a little bit more, okay? So what we did was we designed a little harness and we put a Fitbit. Who knows what a Fitbit is? Right, so a Fitbit is a little pedometer, right? So it hooks up to the phone through Bluetooth. So we actually put the little pedometer on the Fitbit. So we had a group of birds that we just let fly on their own. We didn't chase them. And then we had a group of birds that we actually went and chased ourselves every day, a few times a day. And we wanted to measure how much the birds are moving on their own compared when we're chasing them, okay? So that's one way that we took technology, right? We took something that's a human technology, a little pedometer, a Fitbit. We put little harnesses on them, and then we chase them around or let them fly on their own. So at the end, we could compare and see, are the animals we're chasing around going to be able to be rehabilitated and released any sooner or not than animals that are flying on their own, okay? So beyond just taking care of animals and giving them medications and things like that, a part of what we do in veterinary medicine is we do clinical studies and we do research like that to try to see how can we improve the life of our patients and how can we improve rehabilitation of our patients. And that's one example of things that we have done with technology to kind of help integrate both things together, okay? Other things we do, there's a few other doctors in the equine department that work with horses, for example, and they have this force plate on the floor that horses and even for dogs and cats, they can walk over that plate and they can try to determine if they're lame on one leg or another, and they can figure out a horse maybe that's, you know, walking a little bit funny, but they cannot figure out which leg is the abnormal one. Based on how much pressure they put on that plate, they can figure out which leg is going to be a little bit more tender, okay? So I want you guys to think about that aspect of veterinary medicine. It's not just the veterinary medicine side of caring for animals and patients and things like that. There's certainly a big role for that. But especially at the vet school level, if you like science, there's a lot of math that is involved. There's a lot of physics that is involved. When you see a bird fly, there's a lot of physics that goes into that process of flying. These guys are big athletes, right? So when they come in, that's a big part that we have to consider. Anytime they have an injury in a joint or a wing or something like that, that's going to be a critical component of figuring out if they can be released back to the wild and fly properly, okay? Now, I'm going to finish up by having you guys try to guess how much do you think she weighs. So let's try a few guesses and see. Yes, sir. How much? 60 pounds? All right. Yes, sir. 35? You guys must think I'm really strong, right? Yes, sir. 90? 7 pounds. 20? 10? 10? 15. So she actually weighs about 2 pounds. Right? So they look real big, right? But I guarantee you if she weighed more than 2 pounds, my arm is hurting as already as it is, okay? If she weighed any more than 2 or 5 pounds, I couldn't hold her this long, okay? I'm a very skinny guy. I don't have a lot of muscle here to be holding her up too much, right? So they're actually really, really skinny, and the reason for that is they were really heavy, they couldn't fly. Actually, 20 pounds is about the flight limit for most birds, okay? So the heavier they are, the bigger they have to be able to fly away. So if you actually wet her down, you'll see she's really, really skinny. They look real big because of all the feathers, and that's how they insulate themselves. All those feathers trap air in between. So everybody know what a double pane window is versus a single pane window, right? So single pane is one piece of glass. When you have a double pane window, you have glass, air, and glass. And what that does is it holds the temperature by holding that air in there. It helps maintain the temperature. So that's exactly what those feathers do. They help maintain temperature by trapping air between the body, and that's part of the insulation process, okay? So there's a lot of interesting facts and science about birds of prey. Some of you guys, if you're interested, make sure that you contact the vet school, and we do have certain presentations we do at school. We have our students, and we'll come to schools and do different presentations with the raptors and help you guys understand and learn a little bit more, and hopefully get you interested in the science of veterinary medicine also that goes beyond the medicine. So that's all I had. I know we only have a few minutes, but I know we have exciting people from the Baton Rouge Zoo next. And again, I want you to guys start thinking about that, think about the importance of these animals. We got about 12 to 15 bald eagles come through the hospital every year. Unfortunately, about half of them are still being shot by people illegally, okay? Bald eagles look like no other game bird out there, so there's no reason why people should be shooting them. And they're a very, very important bird in the ecosystem and in our environment, so we need to make sure we learn to respect them and protect them as part of that ecosystem and environment we have around us. So I appreciate all your attention, and I will be around for a little bit and stick around for a little bit longer. So if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer those. I appreciate your time, and thank you all for being here. And keep working hard at school, keep working hard on that science, and you'll get to go to very good places and achieve all your goals. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, I have to tell you, he stole a lot of my stories. First of all, I want to let you know that I'm really excited about the fact that we're focusing on biological sciences this year, because a lot of times in STEM, everybody pays attention to physics and robotics and chemistry, and we forget that living animals are science too. I got into the zoo business. I used to be a teacher and then decided I was having more fun working with the animals, teaching science, and went back and got a degree in exotic animal training and management from a school in California. And I've been working in zoos, as she said, across the country. My friend here is Shakespeare. Shakespeare is a barred owl. That's B-A-R-R-E-D, as in having bars. So if you look at his chest, you'll see some markings that look like bars. Barred owls are native in this area. Shakespeare is an unusual zoo animal, however. 94% of the animals that you see in zoos in this country were born in zoos, and the same thing at the Baton Rouge Zoo. Most of our animals were born in zoos. We do have some exceptions, and the two that you're going to meet today are two of those exceptions. Now, all of the native birds of prey at the zoo actually came to us from wildlife rehabilitation centers. So we've gotten some from LSU, we've gotten some from other rehabilitation centers. Shakespeare came to us from a rehab center up near Shreveport. And I think once you take a look at him, you're going to figure out why he couldn't make it in the wild. Do you see it? Yeah, he's missing an eye. He was hit by a car. He was probably chasing a mouse across the road, and a car coming at 65 miles an hour, no way he can get out of the way. So he was hit on this side of his head. I'm going to back up and see if it stops doing that. There we go. Kinda. He was hit on this side of his head, and the eyeball on that side actually ruptured. So when he was taken to the rehabilitation center, the vet had to remove that eyeball. However, what you probably can't see from where you're sitting is that his other eye is damaged as well. If you were able to see close up, you would see that the pupil is all the way open. It's called what we call a blown pupil. So this eye is gone, and this eye, if he can see anything, it's probably just maybe light and dark. Sometimes we think maybe he can see us. Most of the time we think, probably not. Obviously, being blind, he wouldn't be able to survive in the wild. So the rehab center contacted us to see if we wanted to try to work with this bird to use him as an education bird. And I will tell you that we refer to him as the feathered rock, because nothing really bothers him that much. He's gotten very used to being handled. He's very used to being around people. About the only thing that we've discovered that kind of gets him a little upset is if we have him out at night and he hears other owls. We have a lot of native owls that live at the zoo. In fact, I will tell you that Shakespeare has a girlfriend. There is a wild barred owl that comes to visit him on a regular basis. She actually is part of a mated pair, so apparently she's playing around. And occasionally we have seen him take some of his food, and we think he's actually maybe feeding her, giving her some of his food as well. So they have a very sweet relationship. Now, you already found out that the red-tailed hawk only weighed about 2 pounds. Same with Shakespeare. But with Shakespeare, it's even harder to tell that he's that lightweight, because he looks like he has an enormous head, right? His skull is about that big around. It's a tiny, tiny head inside of a whole lot of feathers. In fact, his feathers weigh more than his skeleton does. I want you to look up at the ceiling of the building. Okay, you see the beams, and you see all the cross members that are holding the beams onto the building? Well, guess how they figured out how to do that? They figured it out by looking at birds' bones, because birds' bones look an awful lot like that. They're hollow like a straw, but they have pieces coming across that give them strength. And it's the same engineering that they use to hold up a great big heavy roof is the same thing that holds his bones together. So you can learn a lot about engineering by looking at what nature does, because nature thought of it first. Now, Pam is going to be bringing out another one of our animals. I'm going to keep Shakespeare out here. Pam is one of our volunteers at the zoo, and she's bringing out Gigi. Gigi has a different story. She is another animal that was not born at a zoo. She came to us from a reptile rescue. There are people that think keeping exotic animals as pets is really cool. And for the right person, it might be. The problem is that most people don't know what they're doing when they buy an animal like Gigi as a pet. Gigi is a savanna monitor. This is a lizard native to Africa. We don't know exactly how old Gigi is, but she's pretty much full grown at this size. And we know she's a female, thank goodness, because the males get to up to 6 feet long. And Gigi lives in my office, so I'm kind of glad she's not any bigger than this. When Gigi was taken out from where she was being kept as a pet, I will tell you that she was in bad shape. The person who had her probably bought her when she was a few inches long, and he kept her in a small fish tank. He never moved her from that small fish tank. She was in a tank that was only slightly longer than she is. So she couldn't even turn around in the tank. So she couldn't exercise. Number two, he was not feeding her properly. All he was feeding her was raw chicken and hard-boiled eggs. So she wasn't getting exercise, she wasn't getting fed properly, she was morbidly obese. She was so fat that when we got her, she could not pull herself up off the ground to walk. When she tried to move, she had to drag herself on her belly. She was that fat. So we had to put her on a diet, and we put her on an exercise program. The diet, she wasn't real happy about, because she wanted to eat every single day like he was feeding her. Oh, no, no, no. She only eats twice a week. No more raw chicken, no more hard-boiled eggs. She gets whole food. So she gets mice. They're not alive when she gets them. We get them frozen, we just thaw them out, toss them in with her. But she can't really digest the hair, so we have to skin the mice for her. Yeah, working in a zoo is a glamorous job. And then once a week she gets worms to eat too. In the wild, she'd be eating mostly invertebrates anyway. So she'd be eating worms and snails and insects. She'll also eat carrion, which is a nice way of saying dead stuff. She'll eat leftovers from other animals. So we put her on that diet, and we also put her on an exercise program. So believe it or not, Gigi is trained to walk on a leash. She's actually better behaved on the leash than my dogs are at home. So she goes out for walks, and we also take her swimming, which is really good exercise for her. She doesn't do the swimming as much anymore now that she's lost the weight. We mostly do the walking. When she first started, she was so fat that walking was too hard for her, but she could still swim. Now, you'll notice that Pam is walking around with her and holding her and seeming really comfortable with her. And I will tell you that we can't let you touch her, and there's a very good reason for that. Gigi is venomous. Yeah, how many of you knew there were venomous lizards? Yeah. Everybody usually knows about things like Gila monsters and Mexican beaded lizards. It's only recently that they've discovered that monitors are actually venomous. Now, in order for her to get that venom into you, she'd have to bite you and chew on you for a while to get the venom into you. But I'm not going to take a chance with that, so we just don't allow anybody to touch her. Now, normally, we can't take everybody's leftover pets at the zoo. If we did, we'd have nothing but iguanas and guinea pigs and pot-bellied pigs and parrots, all the things that people buy as pets and then decide they don't want. But Gigi was a very special animal, and we were very excited to be able to provide her a home. So I do want to tell you, we want you to come out to the zoo. We want you to enjoy the animals out at the zoo. We want you to enjoy the native animals that surround us. But please, if you're thinking about getting a pet, don't buy an exotic animal as a pet. They usually make lousy pets. They're hard to take care of. They're expensive. And more importantly, you might be taking an animal out of the wild where it belongs in order to keep it as a pet. If you want to get a great pet, go to your local animal shelter and adopt a homeless cat or a dog, because they make much better pets and you're saving a life in the process. I appreciate your guys' attention. You can give Gigi and Shakespeare a hand. They did a good job for us. Yeah, you can do that. Good boy. Thanks, guys.
All right, this is the part we're all excited for. I know all you students are excited for the awards ceremony. But before we start it, let's give one more round of applause to our speakers. I want to hear a nice loud round of applause. Thank you so much. All right. So if I can have my award ceremony helpers, I think it's Miss Moncrief and Miss Thomas, to come on up for me. We've also got 6 different VIPs who are going to come up and help. So if you guys would just like to stand up next to the stage, I'll call you up as we go along. Our first person who's going to give out the Honorable Mention Award is Dr. Navarez, one of our guest speakers. He's going to come up here and he'll give you your award. So for our first honorable mentions, we have Alacia DeRosen, Elijah Collins, Kamaria Bowie, Ramiro Montalva, Tamaya Matthews, Christopher Bell and Takiria Carter, Samaya Marshall, Dejan Offord, Terry Tucker, and Derek Batiste. Let's give them a round of applause. Our next award giver is Miss Jennifer Shields. She's gonna come give the 5th place winners. We have 5 of them. All right, our first one is Brandon Davis. Next is Mariana Lopez. Next is Kaylee McMorris, Matthew Spears, and Travis Alexander. Please come on up to get your trophies. Round of applause for our 5th place winners. Right. Our next person to hand out awards is Chuck Paradin. He is the Public Information Director of the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority. He is giving out the 4th place winners. So to start that off, we have Lydia Lindsay and Terrence Nelson as partners. We have Bryce Sanders and Kiamari Murray. We have Marcus Bias, London Brown, and Davion Williams. These are our 4th place winners. All right, we are now on to our 3rd place. For our 3rd place, we have Dr. Thomason. He is a Bessie board member and will be handing out the awards. Our first 3rd place winner is Kenneth Robinson. Next, we have Janelle Webb. We have the partner group of Kayla Paul and Benjamin Gray. We have Jordan Boyle and Tempest Daniels. Give a round of applause to our 3rd place winners. Our 2nd place winner, sorry about that, we have Deputy Secretary Homer Rogers. He's the Deputy Secretary of Veteran Affairs who will be passing out our awards. All right, for 2nd place, we have Maria Leal Rubiano, Taylor Iman Fields, Amaria Spallins, Camille Trent, and Jabari Williams. To hand out both our 1st place and our grand awards, we have Secretary Colonel Joey Strickland. He is the Secretary of Veteran Affairs. All right, for our 1st place, oh yeah. 1st place, we have Jeffrey Corey. We have Sanaya Collins, Jalen Lang, Anijah McKnight, and the partner duo of Micah McCanistry and Taylor Harris. These are our 1st place winners. Perfect, thank you. All right, our last award is our grand prize winners. Grand prize winners will also receive a $25 gift card to Amazon. This year, our grand prize winners are Monica Darris, Jalen Green, Harsh Patel, David Duncan, and Ephraim Jackson. These are our grand prize winners. Give them a round of applause. And I just want to thank everyone for attending the Louisiana STEM Expo. We are concluded